Bob, would you make sure everybody gets a colored marker, and during the course of the time we're together, you'll have two opportunities to come up and put your name on the board, and that's all you'll write, your name. You don't have to make up any creative anything. Just write your name, and please don't press too terribly hard because we don't want to leave any dots on the walls. Because I think Pastor Bob will be taken out and sacrificed on an altar, and evil, horrible things will happen if dots are left on the wall. So, yes. Great. All right. So on the Keirsey sorter, some of you have done the Myers-Briggs before, and it's a very similar assessment. The advantage to the Keirsey sorter is that it is free and it is shorter. It's not nearly as many questions. So on the scoring of that, when you get to the score sheet, you'll see columns. I think it says rows at the top, but it's actually columns. And you'll find the question number, and then you just check the A or the B, and you do that for all of the questions. Then in that first column, those first two columns, you bring those checks straight down, and in those bottom, the blank ones, you give the total for the number of checks in that column. Clear as mud, right? Okay, and then so the E and the I are the only ones with 10 answers. The rest of them have 20. And so the first pair, you see the little arrow at the bottom. You take it over. You add up the first column in the pair, and then there's an arrow. You transfer the numbers over, and then you do the next column, and then you add the totals of the two columns down. Do you see what I'm talking about? Okay, yes, Pastor Bob's got it done right here. And then once you get all of your columns added, then you circle the letter that has the highest score. And if you tie, you just circle both of them. So in a few minutes, we're going to put our information. See where it says E and I? You're going to take your colored marker, and if you're an E, you're going to write your name under the E column. If you're an I, you're going to write your name under the I column. And then we're going to do that. So you've got the E and the I, the S and the N, the J and the P, and the T and the F. Do you see where they are around the room? Okay, so do any of you need a little bit more time on that one? Yes, I see the hand. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do, in order to give some time, need some ushers forward, please. Thank you, Pastor Bob. Need some of these. Yeah. Everybody gets a folder. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Pastor Bob. All right. So, in your folder, you're going to have something with blue lines. Blue. This is actually like a teeter-totter scale. Do you see how that works with the fulcrum in the center of that little triangle? We're all on the same page, right? Blue? Okay. All right. So you'll see there that this represents the two different, each one represents the two different personality types. So the first one is E and I. And this is how you're energized. This isn't so much whether you talk a whole lot, although extroverts do tend to be very talkative, and introverts do sometimes tend to be quieter in a group setting. When I meet one-on-one with introverts, I find that they tend to be very talkative one-on-one, but not necessarily talkative in a group setting, whereas extroverts tend to not shut up ever. And I'm an extrovert, very high-scoring extrovert, so I can say that because I understand who I am. Okay, on the S and the intuition, sensing and intuition, the next pair, this is the kind of information that you pay attention to. So we'll get a little bit more into detail about that in just a minute. And then on the T and the F, the thinking and the feeling, this is how you make decisions, whether you think through or whether you go with your gut. Okay? And then the last one is how you like to organize the world. So the judging, this is not like in a courtroom judge, pointing your finger, you're guilty, you're not guilty. This is more weighing the pros and the cons. And that's how judges make, how they organize the world is how they assess how things are together. Whereas the P, the perceivers, they're kind of more of empathetic and looking at some feeling kinds of things. That we're not talking about feelings so much, but their perception of how things are, a different way of looking at the world. Okay, so now next page. The extrovert, the introvert. This is the outer world or the inner world. These folks are most concerned about energy, where you get it, and where you direct it. So you'll see at the end of kind of each line, there's either an E in brackets or an I in brackets. So we're going to be filling in these blanks. What energizes you most? Interacting with other people or being by yourself? All right, so I'll tell a story while we're waiting for a pen. So raise your hand if you need a pen. Pastor Bob will bring you a pen. Years ago, when I first started working for the Bridge Network, which at that point was the Norfolk Baptist Association, we had this long building, and the 4 ministerial staff were at one end, and the director and the secretarial admin staff were at the other end of the building. And the 4 of us ministerial people, our office doors were kind of like the hub of a 4-leaf clover. And so when we had a question, we were all high extroverts. We had a question, we had a problem. We'd either holler out to each other or we would stand in our doorway so that we were in our offices, but we would stand in our doorways and we would talk things out. And it was an amazing work environment. Well, over time, the association downsized, and when we downsized, we lost several of our staff, and then we moved to Greenbrier, and we moved to a 2-level office space, and so the ministerial staff were upstairs, the admin staff were downstairs, and the ministerial staff had gone from being office-bound to being out in the community with our churches floating around. And so frequently, when I was in the office, upstairs in my office, I was the only one upstairs. Now, I'm an extrovert. Where do I get my energy? from being around people. I'm sitting in a room by myself on a floor by myself. Yes, you understand. And it was like suck the life out of me. Finally, I got permission to work outside the office for office stuff. And I have a laptop computer. I can go in Panera. I can go in Starbucks. I can go in Barnes & Noble. If they serve drinks and have Wi-Fi, I can work there. And I don't have to talk to people. I just need to be around people. That's the craziness of an extrovert. You don't have to talk to people, but you thrive on the energy of being around people. Another story, and this is how this relates. So this relates to me as an individual. This also relates to our family. We have 2 daughters. Both are grown up and out of the house now. The oldest one is also a high extrovert. My husband is a medium extrovert. Our youngest daughter, high introvert. So here we go. Sunday's family day. We all get up, we all get dressed, we all go to we're Baptist, so we go to Sunday school, and then we go to worship, okay? So then we come home, and for years we ordered pizza delivered. So we'd pull out of the parking lot at the church, and one of us would hit pizza we'd order pizza, and then about 15, 20 minutes after we got home, the pizza would be delivered. And so we're all sitting at the table. Well, I should say not all of us sitting at the table. The 3 extroverts are sitting at the table waiting for the pizza, and we are talking and having a blast, and it's like, where's Claire? Is she mad at one of us? Is she upset with one of us? No. She has been for 2.5 to 3 hours in a community environment. She has had energy sucked out of her, and so now she's in her room, in her bed, door closed, headphones on, book open. She is as individually isolated as she can be, and she is re-energizing. And once we understood that she was an introvert and we were extroverts, our feelings weren't hurt anymore, and we could give her permission, not that she really wanted our permission, but we could understand that she needed that 20 to 30 minutes to re-energize in order to re-engage with the family. And so just understanding whether someone is an extrovert or an introvert can diffuse tensions because you understand whether they need to be around people or whether after they've been around people, they need to be alone to re-energize. Does that help anybody? Okay. All right. And that's just the first part. Okay. So what energizes you most? Interacting with other people or being by yourself? Where do you focus your energy? In the outer world of people and things? Or the inner world of ideas and thoughts? Would you rather work on several projects at the same time? Or focus your attention on one task at a time? So, page 2. Got it? Okay. Are you more comfortable? Yes, sir. Okay. All right. Sure. Would you rather work on several projects at a time or focus on one task at a time? And then the last one, are you more comfortable acting first and then thinking about it, or thinking things through before you act on them? Are you more comfortable acting first and then thinking about it, or thinking things through before you act on them? So it's kind of, do you leap before you look, or do you look before you leap? Yeah, where's the target? Move the target to wherever the is that several projects in one task? Would you rather work on several projects? Yes. Okay. It's not tremendously common, but it's not uncommon to tie. To have a tie in any of the pairs. Yeah. What that means is that you can function in either area. There will when we get further into the packet, you'll see a place where it has clues, and a lot of times when you actually like check off the clues that are more comfortable for you, you'll tend to fall more on one side than the other. Yes, ma'am. Ambivert? I like it. Ambivert. Yeah, yeah. So when we get to putting our names up here, if you have a tie, see where the line is between the two pair? Write your name across the line. Okay? All right, so page 3. Okay? These are the sensors, the S's, or the intuitives, the N's. And this is, are you focused more on the big picture, which would be the intuitives, or the individual pieces, which would be the sensors, okay? So this describes the two different ways people perceive or take in information. Sensor is details. Intuitives are the big picture. Okay? Okay? Do you usually pay more attention to the facts and details? Do you usually try to understand the connections, underlying meaning and relationships? Okay. Are you a more sensible person or an imaginative and creative one? So imagine someone who's sensible working with someone who's creative, and they are working on a project together. Someone wants to be out of the box and do things differently. The other one wants to go step by step and have a process. So these are just kind of, so this can happen at home. This can happen at home. This can happen in the workplace. This can happen on teams and committees at church. Okay? All right. Are you more, let's see, which do you trust more, your direct experience or your gut instinct? Are you more tuned into the here and now? Or do you often imagine how things will affect future events? Do you like new ideas just for their own sake, or only if they have a practical utility? Would you rather use an established skill, or do you become bored easily after you've mastered it? Okay. Thinking and feeling, page 4. It's a matter of principles and values. This describes the very different ways people make decisions or come to conclusions. Do you make decisions more objectively, weighing the pros and the cons, or based on how you feel about the issue and how you and others will be affected by it? Which words describe you better? Logical and analytical, or sensitive and empathetic? empathetic? Sensitive and empathetic. Is it more important to be truthful, even if it hurts someone's feelings? Or to be tactful, even if it means telling a little white lie? Do any of you remember the commercial where Abraham Lincoln and his wife are getting ready? It's an old black and white commercial, and she's in this hoop skirt, and she turns to him and she says, does this make me look fat? And you know Abraham Lincoln can't tell a lie. So I think she was a feeler and I think he was a thinker. Because he was truthful and she needed a little tact. Which usually persuades you more, a good logical argument or a strong emotional appeal? Emotional appeal. Which is a greater compliment, to be tough or to be tender? Tough or tender? My youngest daughter went to Virginia Tech and graduated with a degree in cinema. I don't know what the title is, but it's, yes, sir, that's exactly what it is. And one of the things that they did was they worked on little commercial kinds of things. And one of the things that she and I talked about was how a good commercial incorporates a lot of all of this stuff. The logical and the emotional, So watch some of the commercials and see what you see come up in the commercials. Okay? All right, so now we're at the judgers and the perceivers. And remember, judges are not like a courtroom judge, but these are the folks who plan their world. This describes the very different ways people like to organize their world and how they like to live their lives. Do you tend to make most decisions quickly and easily? Or does making decisions often make you anxious and unsure? Would you rather have things settled and decided? Or be able to leave your options open just in case something unexpected comes up? I'm married to a J, and I am a strong P. Where do we want to go to lunch on Sunday after church? There are so many options. Anybody else have that conversation? Is it very important for you to be in control of most situations? Or are you often comfortable letting others call the shots? Are you very time conscious? Are you very conscious of time and almost always punctual? Or do you frequently run late and find time has somehow slipped away? I did a church leadership team a while back, and they discovered that one of their people was a high P, and one of the factors for them was that this person frequently was 5 to 10 minutes late for staff meeting every single week. And so he said to the group, that's my personality, you all just have to live with it. The rest of the group were all judgers and said, you just need to understand that just because you tend to run late doesn't mean that you have to run late. And so just because it's your tendency doesn't mean it's okay for the way you affect other people. Okay. Which is more true? You are generally very organized, or you often have trouble finding things and keeping organized? Which is truer? You prefer to get your work or chores done before you relax? Or you can often find compelling reasons to put things off? Okay, so now that we have kind of an understanding of what it means to be each of these pieces, I want you to understand that in Psalms, I think it's Psalm 139, I have it on my phone, it says that David is talking to the Lord, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. You knew me before I was born. God put us all together individually. There has never been a person just like you in this world. And the reason you are the way you are is because he has a purpose and a plan for you. And for such a time as this, so that you are who you are, he knows you, he has a purpose and a plan for you, and you are here at this time because this is when he needed you to be here. And so when we understand who we are, we have a better understanding of who God intended us to be and to live and work for him, for his glory, for his kingdom growth. And we understand that now is the time that we're here for our purpose. Okay? All right. So, does everybody have their letters circled and they know which ones they are? So, you don't have to go in any specific order, but go to the places. The E, the I are there, the S, the N are there, the J, the P are there, and the T and F are there, and just write your name in the appropriate column. If you've tied, write it across the dividing line. Does anybody need a colored marker? Is that better? So you're an I. So, and then across the line. All right. Do you have it, or do you need some help? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna pick this back up. But I want you to quickly look at pages 6 and 7. It's got the clues on there. Do you see those pages? It's got the extroversion, introversion clues, the sensing, intuition clues, the thinking, the feeling clues, the judging and the perceiving clues. Okay, so one of the things that when I do like individual coaching to help people have a better understanding is I recommend that people go through and check off the ones that are them so they can see, you know, how these play out in their life, some of the specific ways that this plays out in their life. The other thing is it gives you an indication of what's you and what people who are not like you are like. Does that make sense? And once you can understand yourself, then you can also understand people who are not like you. So let me share another example of how this played out at work. I'm an ENFP. So when I process in touchy-feely stories, creative, out-of-the-box thinking. Let's change it up. Let's do things differently. You know, this is kind of maybe how it might come out. You see, because I'm not a detail person, and I'm not a. This is the way it has to end up. You would not want someone like me to be an engineer, because I actually love math. I used to tutor in calculus when I was in college. I love math. Yeah. But see, math to me is a puzzle, and it's not necessarily the numbers. It's a puzzle. So I look at it a different way. So one of the things that will help as you learn more about yourself is to recognize people who are not like you that you work with or that you engage with in your family. Like I talked about the daughter. So I when I used to present to my former boss things I wanted to do, like goals and why I thought we needed to start a new ministry, you know, I would tell the heartwarming story, and I would build about how we would, you know, pour into leaders and develop leaders and get them all excited and all of this kind of stuff. Well, my boss was an ISTJ. Once I understood that he wanted facts, figures, details, bottom line, I changed my presentations in staff meetings to facts, figures, details, bottom line. Staff meetings went faster. His eyeballs didn't roll in the back of his head. And I was able to get more of what I wanted because I was talking on his level as opposed to talking my language. And so when you are in a family environment, in a work environment, it helps to understand where the other person is so that you can communicate more effectively. When you're the leader, it's your responsibility, even if you're leading up, like I was working with my boss, to communicate so the other person gets it. Got it? Okay. All right. So then if you look at the next page, it's how to communicate. As an extrovert, I can finish almost anybody's sentence because I'm also an intuitive and a perceiver. So man, it just pours right out of me. So unfortunately, my boss was not, and he didn't like his sentences finished because he knew exactly what he wanted to say and how he wanted to say it. This is the former boss, not the current boss. No, he actually hired a second ENFP just like me, And then he took a modified retirement. He went to a smaller association so that he was in his 70s and decided he still wanted to do what he was doing, but at a smaller level. So he went to a smaller association, about 30, 35 churches. All right. If you will, go over to the page that looks like this. In my packet, it's 10. Okay. Across the very top, it says SP, SJ, NF, NT. It's columns. Okay. Now here's how you can use this. So if you can figure out what your two key pieces are, like I'm an NF, so I'm in that idealist column. Do you see that? All right. So if you look down on the left, it says orientation, and the bottom one in that section is time. Okay. Looks like this, page 10. Yes. Everybody got that? Okay. So I'm an NF, so find that column. I'm just telling you how you can use this. Okay. No. Your four letters. What are your four letters? And do you have a pair up there? So I'm an ENFP. ENFP. So the NF is me. So if you have an S and P, an S and J, an N and F, an N and T, does that make sense what I'm saying? Okay, so that will be your column. Okay? All right, so let me show you how you can use this. So I'm an NF, so I'm in the idealist column. Look down to the orientation section and time. So my time orientation is tomorrow. So I'm a future thinker. Okay, my husband is an SJ. So right next to that, what do you see he is, his focus? Yesterday. Okay, so we're sitting at the kitchen table having supper, and he will frequently say, back when I was in elementary school. And I'm going, what? And then he tells a story about back when he was in elementary school, or back when I was in middle school, or back when I was in the Army. And his stories almost always talk about back in the day, back when I was. And so in communicating with my husband, I have learned that if I want to bring him to today or tomorrow or next month, I go back and start in his past. We've been married for 30 years. I know a lot of his stories. So I can go back to a story from his past, which is where he's comfortable in the yesterdays, and I can bring him forward to now and then into the future. Like we're getting ready to move. When he was a kid, he moved several times. And I'll say, do you remember when you were in middle school and you all moved from this street to this street? And he'll say yes. And I'll say, what did you like about that house? And he'll talk about that. And I'll say, well, the house that we have now, so we've jumped to now, blah, 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 blah. Wouldn't it be cool if, like the house you used to have, also we had that same thing in this next house that we're getting ready to move into? So what I've done is I've gone back to where he's comfortable in time, brought him to the current, and then moved him into the future. This is not easy. It's called being a perceiver. But anything can be used for good or evil. Our house sold in 3 days. We are now homeless as of this coming Thursday, moving in with my parents. Right now, well, Here's the story. He was in the infantry, so bivouacking and living in a little tent thing on a in a I'm sorry. He goes, "Hey, I was in the infantry. I can do this." And I'm like, "Well, you remember when you were no longer in the infantry and then you got married? That woman you married was never in the infantry and isn't necessarily real crazy about camping either." So, you know the house we currently live in has 4 bedrooms? Wouldn't it be cool if the next house had 4 bedrooms? Yeah. You see how we just jumped right along? Yeah. So it's not manipulation. It's using what you're aware of in order to have healthy, strong relationships, being aware of the other person, their needs, being aware of the other person, and what works best for them. Okay? It's a part of loving others the way you want to be loved. Okay? All right. So let's look at what this means for Abundant Life Fellowship. Look at all the introverts. So what does this mean when introverts lose energy in a group setting? Yeah. Okay. But that's an eye-opening. Yeah, yeah. No picnics. So a thought might be, if you want to do something after worship, how do you have a few minutes where introverts can be recharged? Okay. All right, look at all the sensors. Okay. What does that mean? Okay, so we just had the picnic idea. What does it mean to have all of these sensors? What is that? Okay. The sensors are the facts, the figures, the details, logical stuff, step by step, practical application, so sermons and teaching things. Um, so some of the sensors. What are some of the things that would help you in this environment? Having a picnic sign-up sheets. Yes, ma'am. Okay. All right. So she said to build excitement, anticipation. Okay. Okay. So I don't know. Intuitives. You're the minority in this one. How? What can we do? What can we do with for the intuitives? So engage the imagination. Okay. All right. So what would Jesus do? Okay. Okay, so I'm moving on to the thinking and the feeling, folks. Feelers are the overwhelmingly majority for this group. So the thinkers are the ones who need a little bit of time to process. Okay. Um, when stuff is going on, they logic, analytical. These are the Abraham Lincolns, the truthful folks. The other side, the feelers, they're the ones who want the tact. Yeah, yeah. What is that? Is that what someone said? What is tact? Now, interestingly enough, on the judging and the perceiving, it's pretty tied. It's yeah. Did someone count that and make sure? I mean, because like I'm a feeler, so I'm just eyeballing it. Yeah, yeah. There's a bunch. One, two, three, four, five, six there in the middle. Yeah. Okay. All right. So for your church, this just helps you understand. Um, for one thing, it helps Pastor Bob understand you all better because he gets to keep all these, and he can look and see. All right, so I'm getting ready to text or call a thinker. So what do I need to do? So, but yeah, just yeah, y'all are welcome to take pictures of this if you want. Okay, um, we are at 6 minutes. I'm trying to for those of you who are not ENFPs, it's now 12:07. So I'm using specific things, which is not me. I would say, well, it's just after 12. Um, but I know some of you may have afternoon plans. We're going to take about another 10 to 15 minutes in order to finish up the next part. But we're at a breaking point. If someone needs to exit, I completely understand. And so you do not hurt my feelings. I'll just cry all the way home. I won't show those feelings out front. But you are welcome to leave, and I thank you for being here this part. Now here's the commercial because we're going to do a commercial break. Um, Pastor Bob would like for leaders in the congregation to be a part of the 10-month-long leadership lab, and I know that sounds like a really long time, but it's a lot of fun. We do some fun kinds of things. We do stuff like this, but we also have some key skills that we work on during the course of the training. You are welcome to bring food. So I've got, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 copies. If you are interested in being a part of an Abundant Life Fellowship Leadership Lab, it consists of 2 hours of classroom training, which is very interactive, once a month. and then 1 hour of one-on-one coaching, life and leadership coaching with me for individual skill implementation. And so, and then those appointments are according to your schedule. So we would do the training. We would, as a group, we would decide what are the best days and times, and then we would have those training sessions, and then once a month, you and I would meet, breakfast, coffee, lunch, Starbucks, Panera, dessert. It does involve food. Then we can work through the coaching part. Okay? Okay. Okay. All right. What's that? I've got we will okay, we also are launching in September a network wide training opportunity, the very same thing. So this would be people not necessarily in your church. So we will do one, if we can get a viable group, we will do one that's just Abundant Life Fellowship folks. In the here's where I confession, because I'm an ENFP, so I ran out of ink in my printer, and so the rest of them started turning out like purple instead of blue. So this one, it would have been a creative, out of the box kind of thing, but I was afraid I was going to give it to a thinking logical person. This one has the list of months, dates for the non-Abundant Life Fellowship one on the back. So for Abundant Life Fellowship, we will get together when I guess get back to Pastor Bob, and then we'll have a meeting. Okay, contact me, and you can email me. We will set up a time to meet and schedule a time to discuss when are the best days of the week and when are the best times during the best days of the week, if that makes sense. Right, right. And these are free. Churches in the network contribute money to the network's budget, and as a result of that, that pays my salary. And because you all are a participating church, you get me for free. Okay? So, well, you're very generous, and we thank you for that. Okay, okay. All right. So, all right. Okay. All right. So, any questions or comments? Okay. All right. Just I'll do a little self promotion. I'm doing this with 13 ladies on the Eastern Shore right now, and the introverts were being overrun by the extroverts, so we divided it down into 2 groups. So this coming Thursday we finish the 2 groups, and but it has been a joy to be involved with 13 beautiful leaders on the Eastern Shore. As a result of this group of ladies coming together, one of the ladies who is a real estate broker has hired 3 more agents because she feels more confident in her leadership ability and has expanded her realty on the Eastern Shore, a region of the state that has 50,000 people. She has hired 3 new agents in her realty company because she feels confident in the skills and talents and abilities that the Lord has given her to be able to step out in faith that He at this time wants her to have a bigger impact in the realty market on the Eastern Shore. And so, and I'm seeing that over and over and over again with different leaders. It's not just for church leadership, it's also marketplace leadership, and it's also about home leadership. Yes, sir. Well, that's most of the ladies on the Eastern Shore. On the Eastern Shore, I'm working with a physician, a broker, a veterinarian. The veterinarian is getting ready to open her own practice. I'm a financial advisor who just received the top financial advisor in her company. That's part of the 13 ladies. These are business ladies. One lady owns her. I've got a college professor. She's a professor with Liberty. No, this is not. It's most of them are from churches on the Eastern Shore, network churches on the Eastern Shore. Okay. I think we can do this in about 10 or 15 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I'm homeless. I have no place to go, so I'm inside in the cool out of the weather, so I appreciate it. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about quickly, the spiritual gifts. This is very much a Baptist spiritual gifts assessment. So just be aware of the denominational bent to this. So out of Romans 12, 1 Corinthians 12, Ephesians 4, and 1 Peter 4, the Gene Wilkes, who is a prolific Bible study writer for the Southern Baptist Convention, put together this list of spiritual gifts. The gifts are leadership, and this is how he defines leadership. Leadership aids the body by leading and directing members to accomplish the goals and purposes of the church. Leadership motivates people to work hard in unity toward common goals. The next one is administration. Persons with the gift of administration lead the body by steering